Hey everyone, hope everybody are doing good. And I have come up with the most awaiting topic today, that is I am with the solutions of model question paper released by Karnataka Board for SSLC students. So this is the model paper for Karnataka Board students who are writing 2021 examination. So we all know this year's question paper is completely changed. So you will have to attempt all MCQ type of questions, and there are two papers. Paper 1 core paper includes the core subjects like mathematics, science and social, right? And from each subject you will have to attempt 40 MCQs. So here I have a question paper released by a board for which each and every student is waiting for, isn't it? So let us start the video soon. I have come up with the solutions for all the 40 MCQs from science part. First, let me tell you how the question paper is. The first subject they have mentioned was mathematics. Okay, so from question number 1 to question number 40 were from maths subject, and question number 41 to 80 were from science, and question number 81 to the last question 120 is from social, right? So this is how you have 120 questions in the core subjects paper, right? And the time allotted for examination is 3 hours. So all our doubts regarding time is cleared, isn't it? So aram se you can just think and solve the questions each and every bit. Okay, you have lots of time, so no need to get panic about the time. So carefully just read the question line by line, observe the options, and then shade in a OMR sheet, as I have shown it in one of my video how to fill the OMR sheet, right? And the video link is provided in the description. You can just watch the link. And I always wonder, looking at the question paper, see especially this question paper, you all know we have started our MCQ series. I started discussing MCQs on chapter by chapter, isn't it? Say so far I have completed 5 chapters, that is still electricity, and whichever questions we have done in MCQ series, most of the questions were similar to that. I don't tell the same questions have come, but most of the questions were the similar models. So I was just happy to share this particular news with you, and let me give solutions for each and every question, and along with the solution let us discuss the concept also, why the answer and why not the other options, etc. Clear? So let me not waste your time. The first question here, the first question means the 41st question. Okay, so science questions will start from 41st onwards. So the 41st question, see the first questions were from physics part. Actually, I can see the paper is quite easy if you are aware of the concept. I mean, the paper becomes easy if you are aware of the concept, right? The one who has concept clarity can easily answer. According to me, if you are perfect with the concept, maximum it will take 15 to 20 minutes of time. Okay, so no need to worry. Let us discuss the 41st question. A device used to change the resistance in the electric circuit is. Options are ammeter, rheostat, galvanometer, voltmeter. So what would be the option? Definitely it is option B. Okay, so for the first question, for the 41st question, the option B is correct answer, that is rheostat, isn't it? Rheostat, which we also call it as variable resistance. So using this rheostat, we can change the resistance in electric circuit, right? And let us discuss about the other options also. Ammeter, what is the duty of ammeter? Ammeter measures the current, right, in an electric circuit. Galvanometer detects the current. This question we have discussed in electricity MCQ video, right? So galvanometer detects the electric current, and voltmeter measures voltage, right? So here the rheostat is what we call variable resistance, and this is adjusted to change the resistances, used to change the resistance in electric circuit. Okay, so that is all about 41st question. Let us go for 42nd question. It is on Fleming's left hand thumb rule. In Fleming's left hand rule, middle finger indicates the direction of magnetic field, electric current induced in a conductor, electric circuit, movement of the conductor. You see, Fleming's left hand rule is applied for the force experienced by the conductor when current carrying conductor was kept in a magnetic field. Yes or no? So when current carrying conductor is kept in a magnetic field, conductor experiences a force. Due to that, conductor moves, isn't it? Say, and the direction of the force is best explained by Fleming's left hand rule. So if you take your left hand and keep thumb finger, what do you call this as, index finger and middle finger perpendicular to each other, your index finger will indicate the direction of magnetic field, and the middle finger indicates the direction of electric current, and the thumb finger will tell you the direction of force experienced by the magnetic field, right? Say if I put, and this is your thumb finger, and this is your index finger, and this is your middle finger. Okay, so middle finger will tell you about current, electric current direction. Index finger indicates the direction of magnetic field, and thumb finger will tell you about the force. Okay, in short, we can consider, the force as father, and this is mother, and this is child. You can remember, this is father means force, okay, and this is mother means magnetic field, and this one is child means current. Okay, so that way you can remember about the thumbs. Okay, I mean the fingers, right? So here the middle finger indicates what? It's electric current, right? So option C for the 42nd question, option C is the correct answer, right? Okay, what I suggest you is to remember all the thumb rules from the chapter magnetic effect of electric current. Okay, electromagnetic induction, and Fleming's left hand rule, right hand rule, and right hand thumb rule is there, right? All the thumb rules are very important. It's a strong feeling. I have somewhere a strong feeling that at least one question can be asked on all these thumb rules, right? Okay, so let me go for 43rd question. So let me go for 43rd question here. A doctor prescribes a corrective lens of power minus 0.5D to a person. The focal length of lens and the type is, okay, say they have given power here. So what is the power given? Minus 0.5D. And they are asking focal length. How much is the focal length? And looking at the sign, you can able to decide whether it is a power of concave lens or convex lens, isn't it? So that is what you have to decide. First, let us find out how much is the focal length. So what is the formula you have? Power is equal to 1 by F, right? So here F they are asking, so 1 by P. So F is equal to 1 by power. How much they gave you? Minus 0.5. So how much is the F value you will get? You will get minus 2, right? So you will get minus 2 meter, isn't it? So answer is minus 2 meter, and look at the sign, you have a negative sign. So whenever you have a negative sign, it indicates that it is a power or focal length of concave lens. Okay, it is of concave lens. So when you have a positive sign, it means that it belongs to convex lens. Okay, so remember this, positive sign indicates it is convex lens, and negative sign indicates that it is concave lens. Okay, so this is very, very important. Say most of you would get confused, right? Say one trick I'll tell you, negative, right? Say negative. You have lots of e's in negative, right? E. So where do you find e here? At the end, where do you find e? Right? You will find that concave. You will find it concave. So e matching. You see, end letter, well, where will it match? Okay, end letter, where will it match? Negative, concave, e. So that way you can remember. So this is how I remember actually. And once you know the sign convention, with a logic, you can just tell it off. But still, for you, remembering sake, I gave you a short trick. Okay, so E, end letter will match. So whenever you have a negative sign for focal length as well as power, it means that we are talking about a concave lens. So answer is -2 meter and it is of concave lens. So which option? Can you tell me what is the option? Correct option for 43. Correct option is option A, isn't it? So that is about 43rd question. Coming to 44th question. It's on a light chapter, on light. Just observe it. The nature and size of image formed when an object is kept between principal focus. Object is between principal focus F1 and O, optic center. Okay, of a convex lens. Of a convex lens. Okay, so you have a convex lens. This is optic center, right? And this is our F1. So here if you keep an object, what is the image you will get? This is the last case of a convex lens. Yes or no? There are 6 cases. If the object is at infinity, what is the image? If the object is near to it, I mean beyond 2f1, what is the image? If the object is at f1, what is the image? Like that you have 6 cases, isn't it? And this is our last case. Do you remember? This is our last case. So whenever you keep an object between optic center and f1, what is the nature of image? You will get virtual image. So virtual images are always erect. And here you will get an enlarged image. Virtual, okay, virtual, erect and enlarged images you will get. And this is the most important topic in light chapter. So all the 6 cases, okay, and where do you get the image? What is their nature, right? All that is important. Okay, and I have a beautiful video on light chapter where I explained all the cases. So if you want, you can refer the video. A playlist will be given in the description. So what is the answer here? You will get virtual. When you keep an object here, you will get virtual, erect, okay, and enlarged. Enlarged image you will get, right? So what is the option for 44th question, guys? Option is A. For the 44th question, you have an option A. Okay, fine. Let's go for 45th question. It's a very simple problem. Say I'm going for 45th question. A potential difference between the terminals of electric heater is 60 volts. When it draws a current of 4 ampere from the source, the resistance of electric heater coil is, say you have to use the formula of Ohm's law. What is given? Voltage is given, current is given, resistance they are asking. So what is our Ohm's law? V is equal to I into R, right? So here resistance they are asking. So R is equal to V by I, right? So how much is the V they have given? Voltage is 60 volts and current I is equal to how many amperes? It is 4 amperes. So substitute here 60 divided by 4, isn't it? So how much do you get? 1s are 1, 2 and 4 5s are 20, right? So you will get R is equal to 15 ohms as the answer. So your resistance is 15 ohms, right? That's it. So which is the option? So for 45th question, option A is the correct answer, right? Okay. Let me go for 46th question. The diameter of circular outline of a spherical lens is, what do you call the diameter of circular outline? That means if this is a convex lens, You know what do you call this area as? This one we will call it as aperture, isn't it? This one we will call it as aperture, right? So what do you mean by optic center? Optic center is this. Optic center is this, right? And what do you mean by center of curvature? Center of curvature is center of the circle. Say if you make a circle here, this is just half of the circle they have given, right? Not even half, only a part of a circle. If you completely make a circle, you will have a central point. No, that is called center of curvature. Optic center is midpoint of this. Okay, and what is aperture? This is what we call aperture, right? So the diameter of circular outline of a spherical lens is called aperture. So what is the answer here? The answer is option C. Okay, so for 46th question, the answer is option C. Clear? So let's go for 47th question. Guys, the 47th question is from sources of energy chapter, and that is also from non-conventional sources of energy. That is about solar energy they are asking. So usually in the deleted syllabus, they mentioned about non-conventional sources of energy, but still questions are being asked in the model papers. So what I recommend you to study is the full chapter of sources of energy, both conventional sources of energy as well as non-conventional sources of energy has to be studied compulsorily, right? But the question is very simple. You can answer this even without reading a textbook. The inner wall of a solar cooker is painted black because, you know what? The black color has a property of absorbing heat, absorbing light. Okay, so that's the reason, it is coated with black color. So what is the option you will select here? Reflects light, absorbs more heat, prevents from rusting, converges solar radiations. So definitely option B is the answer. So for 47th question, option B is the answer. So what is the answer? Because the black color absorbs more heat, solar cookers are coated with black. Fine. Coming to 48th question. Function of electric generator. So what will a generator do here? So it will convert mechanical energy into electric energy. Isn't it? Electric generator converts mechanical energy into electrical energy. Whereas the motor, DC motor or AC motor converts electric energy into mechanical energy. So this is the most important difference one must understand between electric generator and electric motor. Clear? So what is the option you will select? First one, reverses the direction of current. B, converts electric energy into mechanical energy. No, it is opposite, right? Detects the presence of electric current in circuit. No. Converts mechanical energy into electrical energy. Yes, electric generator converts mechanical energy into electrical energy. So for 48th question, option D is correct answer. 49th question, again from electricity chapter. The resistance of a conductor does not depend on, the factors affecting resistance is the most important topic one must read. We have solved these questions even in our electricity MCQ video, right? So which factors affect resistance, which factor does not affect both resistivity as well as resistance, revise the topic carefully. Let us see the options. The factor that does not depend. So here there is a skill of reading and understanding a question also. So you may be knowing the answer, but in hurry-burry you will go for the wrong option. Okay. So you have to read the question. They asked you the factor that does not affect the resistance. Length of a conductor? Yes, resistance. Resistance is directly proportional to length. Resistance depends on length of a conductor. So that is not the option. Area of cross section, resistance is inversely proportional to area of cross section, right? So resistance depends on area of cross section. That is not the option. Third one, magnetic nature. See, nothing is there to do with magnetic nature, isn't it? Resistance does not depend on magnetic nature, right? So definitely, I think for 49th question, option C is answer. They asked you, the resistance of a conductor does not depend on, definitely it will not depend on magnetic nature. But does the resistance depends on nature of material? That is given in option D. Yes. Resistance and resistivity depend on nature of material, right? Okay. So now 50th question, they have asked about again generator. DC generator works on the principle of any generator, DC generator or AC generator, it will work on a principle of electromagnetic induction, isn't it? So what do you mean by electromagnetic induction? Change in magnetic field in one conductor induces current in another conductor. As you keep on changing the magnetic field around, there is a chance of creating a current, inducing a current. That is called electromagnetic induction, and our generators works on electromagnetic induction. Okay, so what is the option you will select? A. Electromagnetic induction. B. Magnetic effect of electric current. No. C. Heating effect of electric current. No. D. Chemical effect of electric current. No. So what is the option? Option A. That is for 50th question. Option A is the correct answer. Electromagnetic induction. Okay. Coming to 51st question. The moment I see this question, I remember the things I said it in electricity video. I said, see, about the units, definitely one question you can expect, I said, right? Similarly, the question is asked in the model paper about the units. See, the units and quantities is the most important thing that can be asked for MCQ from the chapter electricity. Concentrate. So here they are asking, what is the SI unit of which quantity? Electric current? No. Can you tell me what is the SI unit of electric current? Ampere. Right? So for current, SI unit is ampere. And for electric charge, SI unit is coulomb. Coulomb, isn't it? And then for potential difference, the SI unit is volt. So for electric power, the SI unit is watt, isn't it? So watt is the SI unit of electric power. So for 51st question, option D is the answer. Clear? And coming to 52nd question, very, very conceptual. I think this part of a chapter is also very important, again from electricity chapter. Okay, you see lots of questions are from electricity chapter actually. So you should definitely concentrate on electricity. Observe the material. You know what? They have given material KLMN, isn't it? And the resistivity values are given. So for K, the resistivity is 6.84 into 10 power minus 8. And for L, resistivity is 1.62 into 10 power minus 8. And for M, it is 5.20 into 10 power minus 8. And for N, it is 2.63 into 10 power minus 8. And they are asking, good conductor of electricity among these materials is. Say among K, L, M, N, you have to select which material is good conductor. For that, how do you decide when resistivity is given? Lesser the resistivity, more is the conducting nature. Yes or no? So what is the concept here? Lesser the value of resistivity. What is resistivity symbol? Rho, isn't it? Lesser the value of rho, more is the conducting nature. So better is the material acts as a conductor. Okay. So more is the conducting nature. So this is the point you always remember. So now the least value. Select the least value among them. See, all are 10 power minus 8 only, right? So just select the least number here. Definitely the least number is 1.62 into 10 power minus 8, right? Which is there for L. So definitely L will have least resistivity. So L will act as better conductor. Okay, so L has more conducting nature. Okay, so where is L given? In which option L is there? It is there in B, isn't it? So for 52nd question, option B is correct answer. That is L. Okay, so L, since it has very less resistivity value, less resistivity value means it is a better conductor. It has more conducting nature, right? So this is how you have to decide the answer for such questions. So that's all about your 52nd question. And now let me go for 53rd question. Okay, let me talk about 53rd question. So what does the question says? It's about, biogas, that is from sources of energy chapter. One of the properties of biogas is, say, read the option. Its heating capacity is high. Yes, if you read the textbook, you will understand. In the textbook, it is clearly mentioned. Okay, so the properties of biogas, one of the property is definitely heating capacity is very much high. Okay, so no need to think of, no need to go for other options only. Definitely for 53rd question, our option A is correct answer. Okay, just read the other options also. Let me explain why they are not properties. Option B, you see, leaves residue like ash. It will not give any residue like ash, isn't it? Say biogas is a very clean gas and pure gas. There will not be any ash. And third option says it burns with smoke. No, it doesn't burn with smoke. And fourth option says its heating capacity is low. No, its heating capacity is very much high. So here the correct property of biogas is definitely option A. Okay, so for 53rd question, option A is correct answer. And now let's go for 54th question. It is from light chapter, a small problem. Object distance and image distance of lens are. What do you call object distance as U? What do you call image distance as V? Okay, so how much is the object distance they have given? U value is minus 60 centimeter. What is the V value they have given here? Minus 20 centimeter, right? And they are asking what is the magnification of lens? You should calculate magnification, that is M. So what is the formula you have for magnification of lens? M is equal to V by U, isn't it? You have V by U. So what is V here? Minus 20 centimeter. And what is U here? Minus 60 centimeter, right? So minus cancel here. So here 0, 0, 1 za, 3 za. So 1 by 3 is equal to 0.33, isn't it? So M is equal to plus 0.33. So where is the option? Plus 0.33. That means option C. Option C is the correct answer. Right? Option C is correct answer. Okay. Say, what is the meaning of plus here? The plus means the image is virtual and erect, right? So there is a meaning for this plus sign. If you have a plus sign, it means that the image is virtual and erect. If you have got minus sign, then the image is real and inverted. Real and inverted, isn't it? So that is all about the 54th question. So here you will get the answer as plus 0.33 matches with option C. So option C is correct answer. That's all about 54th question. And from 55th question onwards are from chemistry part. See, I can feel that from chemistry part the questions are much easier this time. Okay, so let's discuss the questions from chemistry part now. Look at the 55th question, guys. The process used to convert metal carbonate ore into their oxide. See, what is that process called? Metal carbonate. You are converting metal carbonate into oxide, right? See, this conversion always happens in the absence of air. What is that process we call? Calcination, isn't it? So I recommend you to read the differences between calcination and roasting. You should really understand their meanings. Okay, so calcination is conversion of metal carbonate into oxide form, right? It is done in the absence of air. So what do you mean by roasting? What do you mean by roasting? Roasting is conversion of sulfide ore into oxide form, and this is done in the presence of air, isn't it? So here they asked you about the calcination. So which is the process by which you convert metal carbonate into oxide? It is by calcination. So what is the option given? Yes, option D. Calcination is there in option D. So for which question? This is 55th question, isn't it? So for 55th question, option D is correct answer. Fine. Now let us look at the 56th question. The correct group of saturated hydrocarbon, they are asking. Okay, saturated means the compounds which must have all single bonds. Okay, let us work it out. So let us work it out. 56th question now. You see the first option. Let me take first option. CH4 they gave. What do you mean by CH4? How do you write CH4? H, H, H. Isn't it? This is CH4. And C2H4 they gave. How do you write? C2 means C, C. First put one single bond. And around carbon, definitely you should have, 4 bonds. Only one bond is there. But, 4 hydrogens. So on this carbon, you can show 2 hydrogens, and on this carbon 2 hydrogens. You see the number of bonds on carbon? 1, 2, 3. Here 1, 2, 3. One more bond is missing. Where will you put? Here, here. That means you have a double bond between carbon and carbon. So option 1 is not correct. Option 1 is not correct. Go for option 2. Okay, option 2 I am working out. Okay, option 1, methane, saturated, okay. But C2H4 is not saturated, it is unsaturated. C2H4 is ethene, isn't it? Yes. And B option, C2H6. C2H6 is what? Ethane. Yes or no? C2H6 is ethane. How do you write its structure? C, 3 hydrogens on this carbon, and remaining 3 hydrogens you will put on this carbon. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 hydrogens, 2 carbons. Isn't it? So ethane. Okay. Next C3H8. C3H8. Okay. And the next one you observe C4H10. You don't need to put the structure and check it out. Here only you observe. C2H6, next one C3H6, C3H8, the other next one C4H10. You see the difference. Here the difference is CH2. Here the difference is CH2. That means homologous series. So which type of group, which type of compounds it is? It belongs to alkanes. Isn't it? It belongs to alkanes. So alkanes are saturated. Alkanes are saturated. So definitely option B is the answer. They are asking the saturated compounds you have to pick from the option. So in B option, C2H6 is ethane, C3H8 is propane, C4H10 is butane. So all ane, that means all are alkanes. Alkanes are saturated. So in option B, you have all 3 compounds saturated. So option B is correct answer for 56th question. Okay. So if you are confused with the formulas, you just put the structure. If you know to put the structure, it would be easier to identify whether it is saturated or unsaturated. Okay, so that's all about question number 56. Coming to question number 57. Okay, so let me talk about question number 57 now. The atomic number of element X is 11 and the atomic number of Y is 17. then the type of bond formed between these two elements is, okay, atomic number of X is 11, atomic number of Y is 17. Can you tell me what is this element? Atomic number 11 means it is sodium. Atomic number 17 means it is chlorine. We know sodium is metal, right? And we know, chlorine is non-metal, isn't it? So what type of bond is formed between metal and non-metal? Definitely the type of bond formed is ionic bond. Ionic bond. So they are asking the type of bond only, isn't it? So what is the option? Option C. Option C is the answer for 57th question. Clear? Okay. So now 58th question from acids and bases chapter. Very much conceptual. Try to understand it carefully. As the pH value of solution decreases, okay, options, number of OH minus ions increases, number of H plus ions increases, number of H plus ions decreases, equal number of OH minus and H plus ions. So let us understand what will happen when pH value decreases. pH value decreases means what? pH value is becoming lesser and lesser. That is below 7. Okay, say it is becoming from 7, 6, 5, 4, 3 like that. Okay, so that's what we mean by pH value decreasing. Okay, so can you tell me, as the pH value decreases, what will happen for acidic property? Acidic property becomes lesser pH. Say for example, if you have a pH value 1, we say this is strong acid. When you have a pH value 6, we say it is weak acid, isn't it? So pH value decreases means what? Acidic nature is increasing more and more. Acidic nature is increasing more and more means what? H plus ions are increasing. H plus ions are increasing. Okay, so as H plus ions increases, acidic nature more we say. More H plus ions, more acidic we say. Okay, so more acidic means what? Lesser and lesser pH. So as pH value decreases, what would happen? Our H plus ion concentration increases. Say that means number of H plus ions are increasing. So which is the option you will mark for? Number of H plus ion increases. That is option B. So here option B is correct answer for which question? It is for 58th question, isn't it? So for 58th question, option B is correct answer. Clear? So let's go for 59th question now. It's much simple. See, 59th question is from carbon and its compounds chapter. They have given a structure. H, 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 CO, OH. This was the structure they gave. Okay, the functional group present in this compound is. So what is the functional group present? COOH. COOH group is called carboxylic acid group. COOH is which functional group? Carboxylic acid group, isn't it? Say, what is the option here? Option D. You will go for option D. Okay, so what do you mean by aldehyde group? Aldehyde group means this one, this functional group, right? And what do you mean by alcohol group? Alcohol group means this one. And what is ketone group? Ketone group is this one. Okay, say CHO if you have aldehyde, OH if you have alcohol, CO if you have ketone, but COOH if you have carboxylic acid. So definitely you have to be very, very careful with the functional group, and it's my strong feeling that one question definitely would come from functional group topic from carbon and its compound. Okay, fine. So let us go for 60th question. Look at the 60th question, guys. Atomic number of element is 20. In the modern periodic table, this element belongs to the period. See, atomic number is given, that is 20. What is the atomic number? atomic number is 20. Can you tell me which element is it? Calcium. So can you tell me in which period does it belong to? And in which group does it belong to? Period is horizontal row, right? Say, if you can remember, I told you during periodic table chapter, at least try to remember the position of elements till atomic number 20. At least till 20 elements, you must know which element comes in which period and in which group. Okay, say atomic number 20 means it is coming in fourth period. It is coming in fourth horizontal row and it is coming in second group. Okay, its position is second group and fourth period. Okay, if you cannot remember that, at least if you can know its electronic configuration this way. So how can you write? I taught you how to write this way of electronic configuration, right? Say it is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, right? And 3s2, 3p6, after that 4s2, right? So 6 plus 2, 8, 8 plus 2, 10, 10 plus 6, 16 plus 2, 18, 19, 20. Yes, okay, so this is the electronic configuration. See the last number 4, right? So 4 means it is coming in a fourth period. This number, this in the electronic configuration, this number is then a 4s. This number indicates period number. This number always indicates period number. If you know this way of writing electronic configuration, then always this number indicates the period number. So what do you have here? 4. So the period number is 4. Okay, so it's coming in a fourth period. Clear? So what is your answer here? So option A, 4, isn't it? So what is the answer? Option A. That is 4 is mentioned in option A. Right? Say in the similar way, group number, if they would have asked, group number is 2. Period number is 4 here. Clear? 61st question. Very simple. Number of single bonds present in structure of cyclohexane molecule. So how do you write cyclohexane molecule? What is the question number? 61st question I'm talking about. Cyclohexane. How do you write the structure of cyclohexane? Hexane means what? 6 carbon atoms. Hex means 6. All the 6 carbon atoms are arranged in a cyclic way. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put single bonds first. Put single bonds first. Okay. Now, around each carbon, 4 bonds should be there compulsorily. See the carbon, 2 bonds there. So remaining 2 bonds you have to show with hydrogen. So for every carbon, 2 bonds are there with hydrogen. That's how every carbon has 4 bonds around it. Isn't it? So this is how cyclohexane structure looks like. And what are they asking? Number of single bonds present. All bonds are single only, no? You don't have any double bonds here. So how many bonds altogether? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, first let me count hydrogen bonds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, then carbon-carbon bonds. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, so altogether you have 18 single bonds. So what is the option here? Option B is the correct answer. So in option B, they have given 18, right? So option B is correct for 61st question. Let me go for 62nd question. In modern periodic table, as we move down the group, the atomic size of elements increases or decreases. Say, according to me, as far as my feeling, again this concept you have to concentrate for this year examination. Say atomic size, if you go from left to right, what happens? Top to bottom, what will happen? Electronegativity, left to right, what happens? Top to bottom, what will happen? Similarly, valency, metallic character, non-metallic character, its variations along the group. And if you go from left to right, what would happen? Okay, so they have asked here atomic size. So when you move from top to bottom in a periodic table, when you move, what will happen for atomic size? Atomic size always increases. Okay, so top to bottom when you go, atomic size always increases. Okay, so that's what they asked you. In modern periodic table, as we move down the group, is from top to bottom, the atomic size of elements always increases. Okay, from left to right, what will happen for atomic size? Atomic size decreases. Okay, so from top to bottom, the size will increase. Clear? See, the concept of atomic size was beautifully explained in my videos of periodic classification of elements. Links are provided. See, wherever you lack a concept clarity when I am explaining the answers, focus on those concepts, and for those concepts I have videos. See, I made videos for all the topics that is there in class 10 science in a detailed way. So you can the playlist, links of the playlist are given in the description. You just can go to the particular chapter link and then watch the video for complete concept clarity. Okay, say MCQ questions can be answered only when you have clarity on a concept, otherwise it's very difficult. Okay, fine. So what is the answer? Increases. So where is it given? Okay, option C. So for 62nd question, option C is the answer. Option C for 62nd question. Okay, fine. Coming to 63rd, you know, this question I like the most actually. 63rd question on displacement reaction and reactivity series. So they have given two equations. The first equation is Fe, okay, reacted with copper sulfate, giving you FeSO4 plus copper. Okay, looking at this reaction, can you tell me which is more reactive than which element? Iron is more reactive, right? Looking from this reaction, we can say iron is more reactive than copper. Okay, and coming to the second reaction, what is the second reaction they gave? Zinc plus FeSO4 giving you zinc sulfate plus Fe. Looking at this reaction, you can say zinc is more reactive than Fe, right? And see what they have asked you. The decreasing order of reactivity of metals in the above reaction. So what are the metals you have? Fe, copper and zinc. So you have to arrange them in the decreasing order of their reactivity. That means more reactive element to less reactive element. You know, you should arrange and show. So among Fe, copper and zinc, can you tell me which is more reactive? See, iron more reactive than copper. Here, zinc more reactive than iron. So, zinc is more reactive among the three, isn't it? So, after that comes your iron and the least reactive comes your copper. So, this is the order. Okay. See, if you are getting confused to identify from the reaction, I have a beautiful trick to remember reactivity series. So, just remember the sentence. Please stop calling me a careless. Please stop calling me a careless zebra. Instead, try learning how copper saves gold. Okay? Please means potassium. Stop means sodium. Okay? Calling means calcium. Me, magnesium. Aluminium. C, carbon. Okay? Zebra, Z means zinc. Instead, that means iron. Okay, this is tin, this is lead, this is hydrogen, copper, Cu, saves silver, gold. Okay, so what is the sentence I told? I repeat once again. Please stop calling me a careless zebra. Instead, try learning how copper saves gold. Okay, so here you see zinc, where is it coming? Here. Where is iron coming? Here. Where is copper coming? Here. So the first come element is more reactive, no? Right? So first which element is coming? Zinc. Next which element is coming? Iron. Next copper. So zinc more reactive than iron, more reactive than copper. Right? Say you can identify from the reaction, or you can identify if you can remember this sentence, reactivity series. Okay, so the most conceptual question, right? So this is the decreasing order of zinc, iron and copper. So in which option this order is mentioned? Yes, definitely option A. So what is the answer for our, which question is this? Yes, 63rd question. So answer for 63rd question is option A. Okay, fine. And now let us go for 64th question. The gas liberated when dilute sulfuric acid reacts with zinc granules. See, what would happen when zinc reacts with sulfuric acid, right? Say zinc is a metal and sulfuric acid is acid. Whenever metal reacts with acid, what do you get? You will get salt plus hydrogen gas. So what is the salt you will get? Zinc sulfate plus hydrogen gas, right? So which gas do you get? They are asking. So what is your answer there? Option A sulfur dioxide, option B carbon dioxide, option C nitrogen and option D hydrogen. So definitely option D. So what is the answer here? Option D is the answer. Clear? Okay. 65th question, much easiest one, right? So they have given some reaction. What is that? NaOH plus HCl giving you NaCl plus H2O. Okay, so NaOH is a base, HCl is acid. So which reaction is this? Definitely this is a neutralization reaction, isn't it? Very, very easy. Neutralization reaction. So what is the option you will select? Option A is the answer for 65th question. So that's all about 65th question. And now let us go for 66. Yes, the molecular formula of benzene. Benzene, 66th question. Benzene's molecular formula is C6H6. And if you want its structure, this is how we will represent benzene. Okay, so this is benzene. Okay, C6, this is one carbon, second carbon, third carbon, fourth carbon, fifth carbon, sixth carbon. So here one hydrogen, here one hydrogen, here one, here as well as here. So how many carbons? 6. How many hydrogen? 6. So what is the formula for benzene? C6H6. So where is the option given? Option C. So C6H6 is given in option C. So that's all about 66th question. And now coming to 67th question. Okay, read the question carefully. The process that helps in the absorption of upward movement of water and minerals dissolved in it from roots to leaves in plants is called, which process will help? Usually water, when it is moving from roots to up. So when water and minerals move from roots to up, this is done by the tissue called xylem, right? Say which force will help, which process will help in moving water from roots to leaves, that is topmost area of a plant. Definitely, what is that process? Transpiration. Transpiration, isn't it? So what do you mean by transpiration? Loss of water from leaves. Say when water is lost from leaves, it will create transpirational pull. Okay, it will create transpirational pull. So this transpirational pull is responsible in bringing water from roots to leaves. Okay, so altogether, which is the process that's helping? Transpiration. So which is the option you would select? So for 67th question, option B is the answer. So option B is correct answer for 67th question. Clear? Fine. 68th question from life processes itself. The correct pathway of oxygenated blood coming from lungs to heart in the human body. Okay, see how oxygenated blood comes from lungs to heart, they are asking. Okay, so oxygenated blood always moves from lungs to heart. How? From lungs, the oxygenated blood is carried by pulmonary vein, isn't it? Pulmonary vein. So, through pulmonary vein, oxygenated blood will move from lungs to which part of a heart? It will move first to left atrium, right? It will move to left atrium, right? Say left atrium to left ventricle, isn't it? Left ventricle. Left ventricle to different body parts. Different body parts through aorta. You all know the pathway of blood passage, right? Oxygenated blood first will be passed through pulmonary vein. It will reach to left atrium to left ventricle to it will reach all body parts through longest artery called aorta. So let us see the pathway which is right. Pulmonary artery, no. Oxygenated blood will never be carried by pulmonary artery. No, option A is wrong. Option B, pulmonary artery is there. No, it's wrong. Option C, pulmonary vein. Yes, it is carried by pulmonary vein first. Later it will go to left ventricle. No. It will go to left atrium, isn't it? So option D, pulmonary vein, left atrium and left ventricle. So this is the correct pathway. Pulmonary vein, it will go to left atrium of heart, later left ventricle. From left ventricle, it will reach all body parts, right? So option D is correct answer. Option D, isn't it? So for 68th question, option D. Fine. See, actually we started biology question. From 67th question onwards, biology related questions are started, that you observe, right? Okay, let's go for 69th question. Let's go for 69th question. The hormone that regulates carbohydrate, protein, fat metabolism in human body is definitely thyroxine. No doubt, thyroxine. And again, it's my strong feeling that at least one question can come from hormones category. Okay, so definitely which gland secretes which hormone, and what is the function of hormone, and what is the disease related to the deficiency of hormone, everything you have to be aware. Okay, fine. And let's discuss other options also here for the 69th question. Option A, testosterone. What is the work of testosterone? Testosterone is secreted in testes. And what is its function? It will help in developing secondary characters in male, isn't it? Next hormone, adrenaline, secreted in adrenal gland. And what is its function? Controls blood pressure. Thyroxine, you all know, it will help in fat and carbohydrate metabolism. Insulin helps in controlling, blood sugar level, secreted in pancreas, right? So here they asked you which hormone regulates or controls carbohydrate, protein and fat metabolism. Definitely it is thyroxine. And where is the option? Which is the option? Option C. Option C is the correct answer. And coming to 70th question, this is also related to hormone only. The mismatched pair among the following. Where is mismatching took place? Adrenaline, pituitary gland. Does adrenaline is secreted by pituitary gland? Adrenaline is secreted in the gland, adrenal gland. Yes or no? Adrenal gland. It's not pituitary. It's not pituitary. So in the first option itself, you have observed mismatching, right? So option A is correct answer because it's a mismatch. Adrenal gland will never secrete in pituitary. It will get secreted in adrenal gland, which is located above the kidneys. Yes? Okay. Testosterone secretes in testis, correct match only. Insulin in pancreas, correct. Thyroxine in thyroid gland, correct. So where is mismatching took place? Adrenaline, pituitary. So option A is correct answer. Fine. Let us go for 71st question. Okay. The part of human brain responsible for precision of voluntary actions and maintaining posture and body balance. We discussed in MCQs related to control and coordination, right? See, whatever questions we discussed in MCQ video, the same questions are there in model paper. So what is the answer? Which part will control body posture and body equilibrium? Definitely it is cerebellum, right? So option D for 71st question, option D is correct answer, cerebellum. Fine. 72nd question. A pathogen that causes gonorrhea and syphilis transmitted through sexual contact. So, which is responsible for the diseases gonorrhea and syphilis? Is it protozoa or bacteria or virus or fungus? Definitely they are bacterial diseases. Okay, for 72nd question, answer is bacteria. Where is it mentioned? It is mentioned in option B. Option B. We know there are 3 sexually transmitted diseases mentioned in our textbook. One is AIDS, okay, other one is syphilis and gonorrhea. AIDS is caused by virus, okay, AIDS is caused by virus. Gonorrhea and syphilis are caused by bacteria, bacterial diseases. Okay, these two are bacterial diseases. So option B is correct answer for 72nd question. Let's go for 73rd question. Observe 73rd question here, guys. The correct sequence found in the process of sexual reproduction in flower. See, what are the steps? How is the sexual reproduction takes place in a flower? See the first option, pollination. Pollination. Next step they mentioned as fertilization. Fertilization, and the third one they mentioned as embryo formation and later seed formation. Yes, this is a correct steps only. So initially during sexual reproduction in flower, pollination, that means pollen grains will come and fall on stigma of female reproductive system, right? Say from stamens, the pollen grains which are there in anthers would fall on stigma, right? So after pollination, what would happen? Fertilization means the male gamete will fuse with female gamete, right? And after that, after the fusion, you know, we will observe the formation of zygote and then embryo. Then that embryo would get converted into seed, right? From the seed, again, a new plant can get generated. So this is the correct sequence that you will observe in sexual reproduction of flower. So definitely option A. So for 73rd question, option A is the correct answer. Coming to 74th question. A part of plant seed that grows and develops into root on germination. See, how does the germination takes place? You know, the seed would develop as, I mean, it will have cotyledons, right? And it will have a plumule. We call it as plumule. And then during germination, I'm talking about the parts of a seed, okay? And this is called radicle. This is called radicle, right? Say plumule develops into shoot. Radicle develops into root. And what is this cotyledon? This is called cotyledons, and this cotyledons help in storing food. Okay, till you get leaves on shoot, the food is supplied with the help of these structures called cotyledons. Okay, so cotyledons store food, plumule develops into shoot, radicle develops into root. So what did they ask? The part of plant seed that grows and develops into root. So which is developing into root? It is radicle, right? So where is the radicle mentioned? It is mentioned in option C. So for 74th question, the correct answer is option C. That is radicle. Clear? 75th question, very simple question. Okay, so actually I didn't expect this much simple question from genetics, that is heredity and evolution. Say if a round green seeded pea plant when crossed with wrinkled yellow-seeded pea plant. Wrinkled yellow-seeded pea plant. So in F1 generation, what do you get? Definitely in F1 generation, you will get RRYY, that is round yellow-seeded plant, right? So they have asked that only. If round green-seeded pea plant is crossed with wrinkled yellow-seeded pea plant, the seeds produced in F1 generation is round yellow. So in which option they have mentioned round yellow? It is mentioned in option D, right? So option D is correct answer for 75th question. Coming to 76th question. 76. The experiences of an individual during its lifetime cannot be passed on to its progeny because they are. There are certain characters. These characters do not get passed to a future generation. What do you call those characters as? That's what they asked you. So which type of characters are they? Yes, they are acquired traits. Acquired traits, right? So we have studied two types of traits here, inherited traits and acquired traits. Inherited traits are the characters which we have got from our parents, right? The shape of a nose or the type of eyes, we look similar to one or the other parent, right? Either with father or mother, because the characters are passed from them or from our grandparents. So these characters are called inherited traits. And now there are certain characters like gaining knowledge and gaining a muscle tissue and all that. These characters will not be passed to a future generation. Gaining knowledge is because your hard work. So that is the character you developed in your lifetime. You didn't get it from your parent, or you cannot able to pass this character to your future generation also, right? So such characters which you got in your lifetime, okay, are called acquired traits. You have acquired them, right? So that's what they are asking. The experiences, that means the character of individual during its lifetime cannot be passed on to its progeny. Which characters are there? So they are acquired traits. Clear? So option B. So in which option it is mentioned? It is mentioned in option B. So acquired traits is the answer. Coming to 77th question. Again from heredity evolution chapter. Analogous organs have. So what do you mean by analogous organs? Analogous organs have same function and different structures. Different structures, right? Say for example, wings of bat, wings of butterfly. Structures are different, but the function is same, that is for flying. So such organs are called analogous organs, right? And similarly, you have something called homologous organs. What do you mean by homologous organs? You will have same structure but different function. Okay, so that is homologous organ. Analogous organ is, different structure but same function. So in which option you can see this? Same function, different structure. That is option C. So you would observe that in option C, isn't it? So that's all about your question number 77. And now let us talk about question number 78 is from our environment chapter. Most of them kept on asking me which part is deleted. See, everything is deleted from our environment except about ozone layer and waste management. Okay, so definitely you can expect a question on ozone layer. Okay, concentrate ozone layer, how ozone layer is formed, why is the depletion of ozone layer takes place, and what is the reason for the depletion, how the depletion takes place. About this concept you become perfect with. Clear? Let's see the question. Ozone layer is formed from oxygen at the higher levels of the atmosphere by the action of. Guys, do you remember a small chemical equation that we studied in the formation of ozone layer? See, the oxygen, whatever is there in the atmosphere, it will go up. okay, as O2. But after going up in presence of UV radiations, okay, sunlight is made up of many radiations, infrared, UV, etc., right? Say here UV radiations. In presence of UV radiations, oxygen will break down into O and O. And now one of the O would combine with O2 molecule and you will get ozone. This is what you will call ozone. Say what type of radiations from the sun are used for the formation of ozone layer? It is UV radiations. Okay. So what is your answer? UV means ultraviolet radiations. So option B for 78th question, option B is the answer. UV radiations or ultraviolet radiations. So that's all about 78th question. Coming to 79th question. A product that can no more be used for the original purpose but use it for some other useful purpose is called, we studied the 5 R's, right? What are the 5 R's? Reduce, refuse, reuse, repurpose and recycle, isn't it? Say, understand the question properly. A product once used, you cannot use it again, but you can use it for other purpose. Okay, say what is that we call, what is that R we call? Definitely it is repurpose. Okay, in the name only it is there, in the sentence only it is there. Used for other purpose means what? It is a repurpose, right? So for 79th question, the answer is repurpose. Where is it mentioned? Option D. So option D is the answer for 79th question. Okay, the last question is from management of natural resources, that too from the last topic, water harvesting, where we studied watershed management. You remember the advantage of watershed management? It is used to increase the biomass, right? Majorly it is used to increase the biomass, that means to improve plant species and animal species. So you have to select a correct statement here. Watershed management, first option, increases production and income of watershed community. Yes, if you can read the textbook, it is clearly mentioned. It is used, it helps us in improving the biomass. Okay, and it helps us to produce more income for watershed community. Okay, so definitely for 80th question, option A is correct answer. Option A is correct answer. Okay, let's read out the other options also. B says increases droughts and floods. No, it will not increase droughts and floods. It actually controls droughts and floods. Decreases the biodiversity of downstream reservoirs. No. Increases deforestation. No. It will help in increasing biomass in the sense water. It will never encourage deforestation, right? So definitely option A you can go for 80th question. So that's all about question number 41 to question number 80. Hope this video helped you in getting correct solutions, and not only giving a solution, I just told you why the answer has come, why not the other options. You have to deal that way. When you solve any model paper, you have to solve in that way, so that you will try to recall. You can try to recall the concept and you will get that confidence once you are perfect with the topic, right? So that's the reason you should always work this way when you are solving a question paper. You have to understand the depth of other options also, not only the correct option. You should know why the other options are not the answer, right? So this is all about the video. Hope you have enjoyed the video, and post your opinion in the comment. Don't forget, whoever is watching this video, whoever has got at least 1% of the benefit from this video, post your opinion in the comment, okay? Because it is your positive response that is boosting up, and our channel is providing a lot for especially SSLC students who are writing 2021 examination, and understand that and share the videos to a maximum people so that everybody gets benefit. And do subscribe the channel. In the future we will come up with more videos and with more model papers also. And not only that, in your channel you will get the entire science and maths syllabus for the children who are studying class 10, who have entered the class 10 this year. You can recommend this for all your brothers and sisters. Even we are starting class 11 chemistry also, already started with the first chapter. You can inform your seniors, or you itself are going to class 11, so you can enjoy my chemistry sessions also. And right from 7th standard, the topics are available in a channel. And do recommend for other student, let everybody get benefit. This is really a very hard time for every one of us, especially the students who have deprived from education. So let you all be helping for others also. So with this, I will end the session, and let us meet you all in the next session. Thank you, take care, and all the very best for your examinations. Good luck.